All right. We're going to talk about Chapter 4, which is about Fedora GUI. Okay? I'm going to kind of casually explain the GUI to you, the process, what different areas are, what you need to look for, things of that nature. After you boot into your system, and remember, we had Sammy the student, right? So,
Yes.
you're going to, this screen's going to look a little bit different than what you have, but it's still the same thing. You have your logged on. One of them are going to be default selected. You're going to select your user, put in the password, right?
Right.
And then you hit enter, just like in Windows, and then it goes on. Well, inside of GNOME, we have some main areas here. Up at the very top is a search text box. This searches with inside your entire operating system. This is very handy if you're looking for like the init.d file. And you don't remember it's underneath the etc file. Or the etc folder. On the left-hand side, I call it the sidebar in here. Mainly it's just an application bar, but it's for your favorite applications. Similar to your start bar in your taskbar that you have in Windows, okay? Where one click, you go to that program. One click, you can go to a file. One click, you can go to a folder, things of that nature. Pretty self-explanatory stuff, right? Down at the very bottom, this is show all icons, or show all application icons. So when you click that, it'll bring up a folder and gives you all the applications. Similar to the Start button in Windows 8. It gives you that Start bar. You go down to all apps, you see all apps, right? Y'all making that connection, correct? Anyone not making that connection? Roger, it's going to be very similar to your bar down on the bottom, or your quick launch. On one side or the other, I forget which one it is, you can bring up all your applications. It takes you into your, like if you double click on your hard drive, it brings up everything that you have in your file folder essentially. Same idea.
In the Finder?
Yeah, in the Finder. Same idea. I forget the name of it because I don't deal with it all that much, but that's basically what it is. I'm picturing it in my head, but I'm not a Mac person. Okay, here's what the application, when you clicked on here, this is exactly what you're going to see. All the applications that you can use. And you see the little sidebar over here on the right-hand side so you can scroll down, right? That's an easy way to get to more applications. The ones you use most frequently, I'd put over here. Maybe it's a link to a specific text file like init.d, which is your initialization daemon, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, once we get in Chapter 5 and on. That those are the programs that's running your startup. Okay, that's what initialization daemon does. It's your Windows startup. Y'all following along, right? I need to just make me a book that compares these two, right? Okay. Password screen showing at the session menu. From the session menu, I can click down here and I can change it from GNOME to GNOME Classic. And if you have KDE installed, you can have KDE on there as well. Alright? That allows you to choose what type of screen module you're going into once you sign in. The only time you can change that is if you log all the way out, wait for it to come up, and then type it in again. Or select which one you want. Alright? Any questions on that? Now, the GNOME desktop is going to have a few different things. Up at the top left, you're always going to have this applications area. Now, applications is just like the old start button in Windows, where it brings up all the programs and features. Okay? So imagine this is programs, instead of it being down here in the bottom, it's in the upper left. Just like the Apple icon. Okay? In here, you have all your subfolder, or all your folders, then you have your subs underneath it, right? So in this case, if I wanted to go to the Applications Utilities menu, I'd click on Applications, go to Utilities, and open up Terminal. Terminal is what you're going to be dealing a lot with in this class so that you get the commands down and understand how to apply different types of, how shall I put it? different modes of working throughout the system, whether it's GUI based or if it's going to be text based in terminals. Okay. Up on the right hand side, this is very similar to what you would see down on the bottom right taskbar. You have your sound, you have your network connection, you have your date timestamp, and then you have your username. Username allows you, that's where if you want to log off, you go up, click on the username. It brings down a little drop down box and says power off, lock your computer, things of that nature. Okay, gives you your user specific options. Unlike Windows where everything's in that one start thing for the user and all the applications, it's in two different areas here. Anyone want to venture to guess what this 1-4 is down there? You have 4 different desktop screens. Linux is cool like this. This is what I like about Linux. Is I can have a terminal running over here. I can go to 2 and have a completely different screen, a blank screen. I can put another terminal there. Go to 3, put another terminal there. And each one of them have a different area. Instead of having things overlapping, you can put them on different module screens. And that's why when we looked over here where it says shrunken views of workspaces, there's your workspaces. That's what that 1-4 is. This gives you a view of what's in 1, here's what's in 2, here's what's in 3. Makes sense? And 4 is just a background. Okay. Enter a command area. If I want to enter a command, I can say Firefox and it's going to bring up Firefox. Just like the run command. Start, run. Right? Okay. This area is going to be the sub area of the applications that you were just in. So if I'm dealing with software area, it's going to give me software. If I'm doing install devices, it'll say install devices or install utilities or whatever it may be. So it kind of gives you a quick glance. If you don't know exactly where this is at, look up here. It'll tell you where that folder is at. Does that make sense? So it gives you a lot of visual hints and visual ideas in retrospect of where things are. For the software application, this is where you can do for your check for updates. Why is that vitally important? Security, right? Come on, guys. Yes.
Yeah.
Software sources, refresh package list, software logs. Only for the newest version or packages do I want. Why? Do I care for a package that's older than me? Older than what I'm currently at? No, not really. I want something newer than what I'm at. Unless I have to revert back. Then you can just turn that switch off and do it. Now in software, that's where you can do your application updates. You're going to do your package updates or download your packages and install them, and then you can do different utilities and things of that nature. All right. Here's just what a typical window is going to look like. Just like Windows, you'll have the big X in the right-hand corner. You're going to have your taskbar, which tells you what you're looking at. In this case, it's Bailey waiting. Then you're going to have your toolbar, which is your image, your files, your goes, your edits, helps, things of that nature, right? Then you have, title bar. Your toolbar is right here, which is right below. You can go to the next or the previous picture. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can do one at a time. You can crop it, rotate it. Interesting thing, why are these pointed down and not sideways? Anyone know? I challenge you this week. Go look at, bring up in Windows Picture Viewer, the same picture that you bring up in one of these, in this viewer. And each viewer has a different arrow pointing in a different direction. Sometimes these are reversed. The reason these are down is because Windows trademarked the arrows to go this way.
Is it to rotate it?
Huh?
Is it to rotate
Yes.
the pictures?
But the image of the arrow in the direction that is pointing is trademarked by Windows. You cannot use that. They're little funky symbols for in Internet Explorer. That's why Internet Explorer is the same as Windows. Anything that deals with Windows, those are the exact same arrows. You go to any other utility, you will not see it.
Isn't that serious?
Yes, Microsoft will go after you. But that's exactly why you will see the differences, slight differences. Now you understand what it's doing. You don't really care about the trademark. You care about the functionality, right?
Right.
But that's just a little bit of tidbit information that was part of the Internet Explorer thing back in the late '90s, early 2000s, when they had on the infringement copyright issues, because they took over so much of this kind of stuff and got patents and trademarks and copyrights on things, and a lot of antitrust lawsuits were brought against them for these particular reasons. So there were some that they won, like this.
Does it expire?
No. It was a court decision. Unless it's, depending on, I don't know where they're at, if they're still suing them or appealing it or let it go, but that was 15 years ago, so they probably have let it go by now. For a couple arrows, who gives a... I don't care. Do what?
It's the principle.
It's the principle of the matter. That's Microsoft's way of thinking. Okay? And then down here, you'll get everything that's in the window, obviously. That's what you're looking for. And down on the bottom, it'll give you specific they call it a status line. The status line just gives you all the meta information. The size, the dimensions, megabytes, how big the file is, if there's anything, what level you're looking at it, things of that. But anyway, those are the typical terminologies that you will have for the Windows. Not to be confused with Microsoft Windows. All right, here's a file browser. This is the Finder that you have in Mac. This is also My Computer or Computer in Windows, or This PC if you're in Windows 8. Keep changing the name on the stupid thing. Or File Explorer if you're in Windows 8. They call it two different things for the same thing. In here, here's all your recent, your home directory, your documents, anything you've downloaded, music, pictures, videos, trash. All those look very familiar, don't they? Pretty generic on any system. Devices. Here's your computer. This is your hard drive. If you see the symbol, that means that's my DVD or CD drive, because I can inject the CD of Fedora 19 x86 underscore 64, so forth, so on. Network connections, browse the network, connect to network server, and then of course you can change it to documents, you can change it to home directory by default. You can use the left arrow to go back up the chain from where you're looking at. And again, here are all the subfolders that are inside that area. So at home, you get all the same thing that you get right here, pretty much, with the exception of trash. If I want to look at a properties window, it's going to look very similar to Windows in the fact that you get permissions, but I can change them right here. A lot easier than having to right-click and go and add a couple more screens later than I can add the permissions. I just do a drop down and click who I want it to. If I want to put it in a different group, if I want to give that group a different read-only. Remember, you have the owner, the group, and the others, right? Those are your three levels. When we get to file permissions, you'll understand that a little bit better. But this is what you're going to see for a typical properties window with permissions tab open. Okay. You have the object properties window. If I want to open something specifically with it, I can do an image manipulation program. You can open with tab in context. You can open with the submenu if you needed to. It's just showing where the different areas you can open submenus. Here's the settings area. It's pretty similar to the control panel in Windows, in the fact that that's where you do all your change to your system settings. Okay. Remember, anything you do in here is tied to a file, just like in Windows. Windows is not necessarily readable. In Linux, just do a get to the file name and you're in there. Well, maybe you do a su before it if you're not root. So you can go into super user or privileged mode. Alright, background window. You can go in here and change your background to whatever you want to. Pretty simple. Display options, right? Change my screen dimensions. I can do normal. I can rotate it. Why is this kind of neat? If I want to rotate my screen, some of these screens like these in here can rotate to the side. I can change it in here. In Windows, you can't. You turn it upside down. But that's it.
Yeah, those hotkeys, right? So hotkeys you press to rotate on Windows.
Yeah. But I was referring to in the display itself, you can't make it do left and right. You can only do up and down from the display options. You have to do your Windows key or control, whatever, control alt and then keys or what, I forget exactly which one it is. Mouse and touchpad, same thing in the settings. You can go in there and change your speed of the clicks. You can really make someone mad by making it, they have to click it really, really fast or really, really slow. Like I click it now and then I come back and click it again, then it won't accept it because I haven't waited long enough. System date and time changes, pretty typical. You can do that also at the clock up at the top right. You can open it up and it'll bring up this, and you can change it to whatever you want to. Now notice we have this little thing up here called lock. Okay. By default, a typical user is not an administrator, can't set this. You have to unlock it, then to set your things, and then lock it back. It's very similar to Linux or to Mac. And you have that actual lock looking thing. Because you want to lock those permissions in place so that no one has access to it. Okay. Users window, this is where you can go in and change users, make them automatically log in or not. It tells you what type of account they are. And you can add other ones by clicking plus and going through the process that you did to create the accounts to begin with. Any questions on that? GNOME Help, there's the GNOME Help window. You can just click on it. It'll give you any type of help that you need. It's fairly well written because it's open source and everyone pretty much has access to it and can edit it on the fly. Okay, Google reporting an error on an error message. How many times have y'all ever gone to Google because you get an error? Okay, that's it's a good thing because you can actually go in there and find out what the information is. And then the Linux document project or tldp.org. You can do there. You can go to fedoraproject.org. And both of them give you information about specific Linux or the documentation for Fedora, depending on which one you go to. If you want to go to Red Hat or whatever, you can do that too. Software updates. Here's your software update window. It will tell you the security updates. I would highly recommend you always install these. Bug fixes, I would always install these. And when you see this little switch like right here and right here, that means there's going to be a restart after those are done. Those aren't hot fixes. They're cold fixes. You've got to reboot it because it's affecting a system service that is running. Does that make sense?
Right.
Here's your packages. I can come down here and pull up anything I want. And I just, let's say in this one, here's all the package collections. I can come down here. It will tell you what it is, and it will tell you more about it. It tells you how big it is, and if you have to have a specific license for it. All right. You can remove packages. You can visit that website for that particular thing. You can add files, dependent packages. You can look to see if there's any dependencies that have to be installed as well. Because what's the worst feeling in the world? You install a package and then there's a dependency that you didn't install and it doesn't work. Unlike Windows where they put everything together and give it to you in one application. That's why they're usually 2 or 3 gigs. I may already have that package installed, so why do I need the whole thing to reinstall, right? Here's the terminal or an emulator. Maybe it is the terminator by the end of this class. If we look at this command right here, or look at this user, Sam at Guava, I have a tilde, and then I have a $sign. What does that mean? Y'all should know by now. What does the tilde mean? I'm in the home directory. What does the $sign mean? I'm in non-privileged mode. That means I'm just a typical user getting on the terminal to see things. Okay? If this was a $sign, I'm now in elevated permissions. It means I'm either a super user or I'm root. Or I'm a visudo. Okay? But anyway, in this case, he's doing the ls-l. ls-l means list all the contents and their properties of my directory. So there are 2,996 files. Each one of these, you see with the D, that means it's a directory. The first set of RWX is read, write, and execute. The second set, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. Notice there's not a W there. What does that mean? They don't have write permissions. So the owner has the read, write, and execute. The group and others only have read and execute. That's all it means. So in this case, it's a 755. So the modification code is 755, but we'll get into that when we get into permissions, okay? A man page. Now, when we're talking about needing help on something, you can type in man Chrome tab, and it will give you everything there is to know about cron tab. Man ls gives me everything I need to know about the ls. In this case, I typed in man. All it is it's a manual. That's what man stands for, manual. Here are all the different things that I can do. I can do man-c with the file name -d, upper D, warnings, R's. You read it. There's a lot of information that you can do on a man. Okay? The initialization screen when you first boot up in the computer. If you want to look for core utilities, it'll tell you right there where your core utilities is. Okay. You can do, the screen can be displayed in the command info or core utilities after you type the sleep and hit return twice. Okay. So I can delay it to come up a little bit later if I want to. If I want to look at my sleep command, I can come in here, seconds, minutes, hours, days. It tells you what you need to do. Is there any questions? Pretty easy chapter, right? Did I go a lot slower this time? Did you actually learn something this time? Considering I had y'all do it when we went over it in class. How many of y'all gotten through lab 3? It's 10 minutes. It's going through what we just talked about. That's why I did this, so that y'all can go through lab 3. I would highly encourage y'all to start getting ahead on your labs in here.